Okay then, so today we are going to be planning our speech, but first organising our research. So if you'll do now, what you've got to do is a little recap of the rhetorical devices from last lesson. So a little definition of what pathos, ethos and logos are, then some definitions of some rhetorical devices. Just a little recap to do now. For task 1, what we're doing is organising our information. A little bit wordy, but why we're doing this, it's not the planning yet, but it is organising your thoughts, research and feelings and ideas of your topic before it turns into a whole planning, because when you're sitting there with an empty planning grid, it can be a bit daunting. So as you notice, the little yellow highlight, please see task 1 grid. It is actually at the bottom of the lesson, so we pop down. It's here just because it was really awkward to get into the other grid. So what I've done is put a little explanation of what you need to organise in the first section. This is not the order you'd be writing a speech in, but it's more so when you come into planning writing your speech, you can see where all your thoughts and information are stored. So I've done a little example here for you. If you want to add more detail, it's fine. So first one's the basics. Because just imagine you are giving a speech to someone who's never known anything about the topic, completely alien to it. So how I like to think about when you're doing things like this is layering it like a cake. So you want your base information, where you kind of outline it, a little bit more detail, and then the more refined detail at the top. Almost like in your piece paragraph, you do the base analysis, then you layer it into more and more depth, kind of an inverted triangle of sorts. Why is this important topic to you? Counter argument. It's always good to have a little counter argument and then almost defeat the counter argument with your original point. And then key facts and figures, which are more stuff that you've researched last lesson. Take about 20 minutes on that. You don't have to don't make sure it's neat, just get all your thoughts down. Then we're going to have a little look about how some effective speeches flow. So you had a look at Greta Thunberg's amazing UN speech last lesson for your analysis of rhetorical devices. So here's about 14 paragraphs in her speech. They are tiny, so you don't have to do 14 if they're slightly larger, but she's got quite small paragraphs. What we're doing this for is when you're doing a speech, you have a core message that you want to convey, and your paragraphs have their own ideas and nuances, but it feeds back into the main idea. So what I want you to do is put the main message of her speech here. I'd leave this bit, how the paragraphs feed into the main bit at the end, but look through the paragraphs and then just put a sentence or so what the message of that paragraph is. When you've done that, come back to the final question: how do the paragraphs feed into the main message? Just to get you thinking about how you can get your paragraph, your speech to flow and have one core theme, and it will feed into the main theme. Again, like your P's analysis, you're answering one question when you do an essay, but your P's take slightly different twists on it and keep feeding back to the main message. Now moving on to planning. So introduction, how to hook the reader. We're actually going to play around with introductions next lesson, so you can leave that for now. And paragraph 1, summarise the topic and pop all your bits in here. If you end up doing slightly more, that's fine. You can just, add another box into it. What I'd recommend to do is also bullet point what sort of devices you want to use in there. So I think anaphora is a great one to use. It's where you repeat a phrase at the beginning of a clause. So I have a dream, that's repeated a lot in that speech. Or we will fight them for Winston Churchill. He repeats that at the beginning of a clause. So that's what you need to be doing. I was spending about 50 minutes on this bit. Got to write that in, 50 to 55. The most important bit is planning. So let's say you are on task 2 and you're actually finding it's taking slightly longer than 15 minutes. Leave it and plan your speech. If you finish slightly early planning speech, you can come back to and amend this section. I hope that makes sense of what you're doing today.